I think Donald Trump has forgotten that he's president and Joe Biden is no longer president. Maybe Donald Trump has also forgotten that he's used the auto pin before. I think the fact that this case has been shelved tells the American people that there's nothing there. And I would hope that this president would be listening to the American people who are struggling, they are scared, and they are mad at their government for taking away their health care, for raising the cost of their groceries, and for making them watch their neighbors get shot in the street by ICE. But Donald Trump is more desperate for revenge than he is desperate to help the American people. Thankfully, there's some courageous prosecutors at the DOJ who said there was nothing there. I just hope they don't get fired.
Okay, so this is only one headline from the DOJ today. The other is what is happening in the House of Representatives. Congresswoman Nancy Mace sort of forecasting what was going to happen. This is what she tweeted. AG Bondi claims the DOJ has released all of the Epstein files. The record is clear. They have not. The Epstein case is one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. His global sex trafficking network is larger than what is being revealed. 3 million documents have been released, and we still don't have the full truth. Videos are missing. Audio is missing. Logs are missing. There are millions more documents out there. Okay, so let's say Comer officially issues the subpoena, in the next week? Congresswoman, how soon do you think it is possible you could have AG Bondi testifying before Congress?
I think we'll be waiting a long time for that. I mean, what's the likelihood that the DOJ is going to respond to that subpoena and produce her under this administration? I don't know. What is true is that the release of the Epstein files has been incomplete and reckless. And I do believe that Pam Bondi has some information that's worth sharing with the committee. I mean, remember, she was in the middle of a lot of this as a prosecutor in Florida during the time that Epstein was there in the mansion and all of the things that were going on. So I actually do think she has some information to share. And I'm grateful that there were Republicans and Democrats. This was a bipartisan vote to request to subpoena her. I want to know if she's going to show up. Is she brave enough to do that, willing to tell the truth?
We'll find that out, Congresswoman. So I have a two-parter. The first is just going to be a comment statement. The second one will actually be a question, because the first part has to go to what you said about Pam Bondi not showing up. So let me ask you a question. If the United States Congress subpoenaed me and I didn't show up, what would you do?
You would be in contempt, and we would force you to show up. We would compel you to, or you'd have to go to jail.
So is there a difference between me and Pam Bondi?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely
so there you
not,
are.
Michael.
So if she don't show up, you get the U.S. Marshals to go down to her office and haul her behind before your seat so she can have that conversation. We need to stop acting like these people are above the law and treat them the way everybody else in this country would be treated if they were in a similar situation, compelled by Congress to appear. You don't get to say, I'm not showing up, without consequences. So that was my point. Okay, my question.
It's to rip up the papers for me, child. Get him, Mr. Chairman.
He's been practicing that all day.
No, that's the moment. And my question is, meanwhile, Secretary Noem did appear before the House Judiciary Committee, and I'd like you to listen to an exchange between her and Mr. Raskin.
Based on what you know today, Madam Secretary, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
Congressman, what happened in Minnesota in those two incidents was an absolute tragedy.
Were they domestic terrorists, as you said to the country?
My condolences to their families, because I know that their lives will never be the same after that happened.
Is that an apology for what you said? Based on what you know today, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
There's ongoing investigations, and so I
can't... So you still don't know? You think that's an open question?
There you are. It was embarrassing. It was despicable. It was all those things. This administration can't look at the victims of Jeffrey Epstein when they appear, and you have Ms. Bondi sitting there and she refuses to look, and now you have the DH secretary can't even acknowledge that the individuals that she pegged, that she said were domestic terrorists, were in fact not domestic terrorists, because she's hiding behind some ongoing investigation, which is a crock. I just wanted to get your response to that moment and what it said to you.
Yeah, today's performance by Kristi Noem was appalling, to say the least. Department of Homeland Security has a leadership problem. Kristi Noem has a credibility problem. It's not just about the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. It's also the 6 other U.S. citizens that were killed, refugees that have been killed, 30 immigrants who have been killed, because this woman is making bad decisions that are killing Americans, that are killing our friends and neighbors. And the sad part is that she will not take responsibility. She will not be accountable. She will not admit to mistakes. She will not submit to wanting to do better. She is not a good leader. She is covering up, and she is running from the accountability and the responsibility that goes with her position.
There was also an exchange about the way in which Kristi Noem has misled Congress about her top aide's role in DHS contracts. Can you talk us through why this matters, Congresswoman?
Well, there's a possibility that she perjured herself when she testified before the Senate yesterday. We have real questions about the judgment, the decision-making capabilities of this secretary. Who is giving her advice? Are they qualified to do so? Are they operating in her stead? Lots of questions. I mean, who is reviewing or vetoing or signing contracts? Who is holding up contracts? Who made the decision to go and try to lobby for Alligator Alcatraz? Who's made the decision to continue to send these ICE agents out in Minneapolis and other cities to terrorize folks? Who's making the decision that it is okay to buy a $70 million luxury jet? Those are real. Who's making the decision not to pay out FEMA money? Okay? Is it her? She needs to own up to it. Is it her aides? She should cop to that, too. And the fact that she was very evasive and suggested that, there weren't these other folks that have these powers when documents reveal actually that they do is, I think, where she's going to find herself in some hot water.